It's never easy watching a fairy tale fall apart, but in Montecito, that's exactly what's happening. Once celebrated as the bold rebels of the royal family, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle now look less like modern royalty and more like a couple scrambling to hold on to a dream that's slipping through their fingers. The shine has dulled, and behind the scenes, things are unraveling fast. Reports say they're firing staff at a shocking pace, not with quiet diplomacy, but in sweeping, dramatic waves. Entire teams have been wiped out, from senior PR advisors to the people who keep their home running day to day, even the ones looking after their chickens. Official figures say at least 25 employees have been let go since they stepped down from royal duties. But insiders suggest the number is much higher, especially when you count the nameless staff who never made the headlines. Now, many of those former employees are finally breaking their silence. They call themselves the Sussex Survivors Club, and their stories sound less like palace gossip and more like a psychological thriller. Emotional manipulation, screaming fits over minor issues, 3 a.m. phone calls to remake banana cake, because the first one wasn't right. This is what they say working there was really like. One staffer claimed Meghan's kind demeanor would vanish the second Harry left the room. Another said she once yelled over specks of dust. The image of the nurturing humanitarian couple. It's cracking. Meanwhile, across the ocean, Catherine, Princess of Wales, continues to shine with quiet confidence, draped in Dior, smiling with calm poise, and wearing the late Queen's pearls. She welcomed French President Emmanuel Macron at Windsor Castle with effortless elegance, casting an even harsher light on Meghan and Harry's increasingly chaotic brand. Because the truth is, they didn't just leave the monarchy, they tried to build a rival version of it. And now the cracks are undeniable. That $100 million Netflix deal, rumored to be closer to $20 million, and it's nearly up. Spotify already cut them loose. They're paying $288,000 a year in property tax on a $15 million mansion, plus a $9.5 million mortgage and $2 million a year in security costs. The numbers just don't work. They assumed fame would be enough, that interviews, headlines, and sympathy would keep the engine running. But celebrity doesn't run on goodwill. It runs on results. And lately, they haven't delivered. Their content flopped. Their interviews sparked backlash. And even the media outlets that once embraced them, like Vanity Fair and The Hollywood Reporter, are now calling them out. Harry, reportedly furious over the Vanity Fair piece, tried to spin the narrative with a PR cover in Us Weekly. But when over 40 staff members across continents have walked out, many emotionally wounded, no amount of gloss can fix that. This isn't a perception issue anymore. It's reality. And inside that grand Montecito mansion, insiders say the mood is tense, not regal. Because what we're seeing now isn't a couple writing their next chapter, it's a royal story unraveling in real time. The environment behind the walls of Montecito wasn't just stressful, it was volatile and emotionally draining. Former employees describe Meghan as a one-woman command center, operating like a CEO with no board of directors. Every decision went through her, and dissent simply wasn't tolerated. Staff were expected to be available 24/7, even for the smallest, most trivial issues. One assistant remembers being jolted awake in the middle of the night just to fix a typo on a presentation. Another described the onslaught of emails starting at 5 a.m., followed almost immediately by phone calls demanding to know why there hadn't been a reply. And it wasn't just junior staff walking out. High-level communications directors, press secretaries, even Meghan's own head of operations, all gone, slipping out quietly without press releases or parting statements. Insiders say they didn't leave because the job was demanding. They left because the environment was toxic. Many joined Archewell full of hope, inspired by its message. But they left disillusioned. Some, reportedly, are now in therapy. Andy. Emotional toll wasn't hidden, according to Harry's own memoir. It wasn't unusual to walk into the office and find someone crying at their desk. Publicly, things aren't faring much better. Meghan's podcast failed to take off. Their Netflix content underperformed. Archewell has lost the spark that once made headlines. Even their social media, once a finely tuned machine, has gone eerily silent. The team that once crafted every Instagram caption and tweet with precision, gone. No new hires announced. What was once a sleek communication strategy now feels aimless. Outwardly, Meghan still projects poise-draped in designer clothes, radiant in diamonds, all grace and calm. But insiders say the surface doesn't match the storm behind closed doors. When Vanity Fair published a critical piece, it reportedly sent her spiraling days spent pacing, obsessing, pressuring staff to push back. Harry, ever the loyal partner, scrambled to counter it with glowing features and flattering interviews. But the damage was done. The irony is sharp. Meghan's need for control is what's driving people away. Former staff say she micromanaged everything: how press releases were written, how the chicken coop should be cleaned in when things went wrong. She was always quick to deflect blame. Inside this whirlwind was a rotating cast of employees, unrealistic demands, clashing egos, and a culture where even those closest to the couple felt unsafe. And despite their shrinking empire, Harry and Meghan still seem to act like the money will never run out. Their Montecito estate isn't just a home, it's a sprawling estate with guest houses, a theater, a gym, even a custom chicken coop. Millions were poured into renovations, and yet it's quietly up for sale behind the scenes. Why? Because they can't afford it anymore. But who would buy a property so deeply entangled in bad press? At the center of it all is a couple still clinging to the belief that they're bigger than the monarchy they left behind. But the numbers tell a different story, and so do the dozens of ex-staffers who are finally pulling back the curtain on what it was really like inside that palace of illusion. Meanwhile, Catherine, Princess of Wales, didn't need a PR campaign or a streaming deal to win hearts. She just had to show up. At the state visit for President Emmanuel Macron, every gaze in the room gravitated toward her. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, stood draped in a custom Dior ensemble, flawless and timeless. With pearls once worn by Queen Elizabeth resting gracefully at her neck. She didn't need to speak. Her very presence, calm, composed, commanding, said it all. This, people thought, is what royalty truly looks like. And across the Atlantic, the contrast couldn't be sharper. Meghan Markle continues to mirror Catherine's style from afar, often stepping out in near-identical outfits just days after Catherine debuts them. But the mimicry only magnifies the gap. As one royal insider put it with a laugh, Meghan's fashion plan seems to be copy and hope for the best. But you can't replicate grace. You can't fake loyalty. You can't stage humility. And that's exactly why Catherine is winning, not just in headlines, but in hearts. While Meghan leans on curated photo ops, Catherine simply shows up, and even global leaders respond. President Macron didn't just greet her, he kissed her hand, a gesture steeped in tradition and genuine respect. Meanwhile, back in Montecito, Harry and Meghan are battling a tide they can't control. The image they so carefully constructed is unraveling, and no PR campaign can sweep it all away. The internet remembers, and former fans are now the loudest critics. Former staff keep coming forward stories of public humiliation over minor errors, of being iced out of meetings for speaking up, of being cast aside after months of loyalty. One called the atmosphere dehumanizing, not because of the workload, but because of the emotional whiplash. Meghan, they say, had two faces, charming and warm when Harry was near, cold and cutting when he wasn't. As for Harry, he was likable, yes, but passive. A peacekeeper, not a protector. Staff recall him offering private apologies, quiet words behind closed doors, but never standing up to the storm. That silence made it worse. Over time, they lost trust in him. Because when someone knows what's wrong and still stays silent, it stops being ignorance, it becomes complicity. And as the goodwill faded, so did the finances. The couple's legal wars are draining them. Meghan's bullying accusations, Harry's crusade against the press, the legal bills alone have reportedly soared into the millions. As one royal commentator bluntly said, they believed the income would never stop. They thought they could keep grifting forever. But Hollywood doesn't hand out checks for pity. It rewards winners. And right now, the Sussexes are losing loudly, visibly, and in real time. The irony is harsh. Meghan, who once dreamed of global icon status, has become a warning sign. And Harry, once the daring, beloved prince, now drifts in his wife's shadow, caught in the orbit of her ambitions. The house, the foundation, the brand, it's all coming apart. And behind the velvet curtains, whispers are growing louder. Divorce. Not confirmed, not announced. But in a world where marriage becomes business and the business is failing, a split starts to feel inevitable. Because in the end, it isn't palaces or titles that define royalty. It's how you treat the people around you. Harry and Meghan were given a rare chance to build something meaningful, something different. They could have been the future. But instead, they played the game and lost. And now with the staff gone, the funds drying up, and the trust shattered, all that remains is a sprawling mansion filled with silence, regret, and echoes of what could have been.